I guess I am gonna have to take back my words. I am gonna have to walk this one back. So we said a while ago, there is no such thing as a Herman Miller Aeron knockoff.
Contrary to popular belief, there is no such thing as a fake Aeron.
And we mentioned the economic and financial reasons, and also the intellectual property reasons of why it's not just a feasible thing to do, even if you wanted to infringe. The reasons primarily were it's just too expensive, and there are very strict and powerful IP laws that are rightfully there to protect this kind of IP. So we were actually notified by someone we know very well and trust on Reddit. I Buy Office Chairs, the moderator and owner of the Office Chairs sub, and we decided to take a look for ourselves. We thought there was no way that this could be actually a real fake Herman Miller Aeron chair, and it's probably most likely a bad refurb job or someone that took genuine Herman Miller chair parts and applied them to a frame of a non-Herman Miller chair, some kind of combination that was just poorly constructed, which we know people every once in a while are tinkerers and they get creative. That was definitely not the case. When we went there, we were shocked to find that there was a fake Aeron being presented there, and we still think, even though that it's now in the ecosystem, it's not something that we're going to be prevalently seeing in the markets here in the United States at least, or even in any first world country, because again, there's still very strong IP protections that are in place that would severely impact even the overseas producers. This Aeron that's fake can be easily noticeable, and how you can find out if the Aeron chair that you have or will be buying as a fake one. Number one, the Aeron chair that we saw over there had a mesh attachment that was directly into the frame of the chair rather than the inner frame that's usually either rubber or plastic that goes into the larger seat frame or back frames. They had it directly embedded into the chair frames, as opposed to an inner and outer ring for the mesh. And that feature actually is going to make it drastically easier to identify whether it's a fake or real Aeron, because all the Aerons that are out in the system right now, ecosystem, are chairs that have the inner ring that gets inserted into the seat pan, or seat frame rather. Same thing with the back mesh. It's not a singular piece that's there. And that's actually great for individuals to know, because if the fake Aeron that we saw was the commonplace architecture of the chair, it would actually make it very difficult to, or even impossible to, refurbish the chair, because if that mesh ripped, you cannot just simply remove the mesh insert, as we've demonstrated many times in our refurbishing videos. You'd have to scrap the whole frame along with the mesh that's being ripped. The way that the Herman Miller system has is that is an insert that goes in, and so if that mesh is ever ripped, you simply unscrew that insert, and then once you remove it, you can put the replacement. Next thing that we noticed, which is an obvious one, in the back of the Herman Miller Aeron chair, there is a famous Herman Miller logo. Classic, it was the full Herman Miller name, and the remastered, they just put the iconic H on the back in the middle of a circle. On this fake one, there was just a circle where the logo would normally go, and it's probably something that we can discuss as to why it's going to make the importation of something like this rather difficult and not realistic, and so not something likely we're going to have to worry about in the United States. Nonetheless, it's something that you might encounter. The next thing, and this is a little bit more subtle, you might want to look at and notice, is the back bolts of the Herman Miller that attach the back to the rest of the frame of the chair. And those 4 back bolts are a button cap back bolt. And actually, even though it's a subtle small thing, it's very iconic because those are very rare and hard to come by. They are specially made for Herman Miller. And those button cap bolts have a hex key insert. Those kind of definitely round off and take off some of the edginess of what a regular machine bolt would look like in the back of the Herman Miller Aeron. And this fake one that we saw they had flat capped machine bolts that were also hex. I think from an engineering and mechanical standpoint, they would probably be very good. From an aesthetic perspective, it definitely changes the look of the chair to a certain degree. As according to that manufacturer, they were only making remastered size C knockoffs. The prevalent size B, which is the majority of the Aerons out there, are not being made at the moment by this individual. It's highly unlikely you're going to see it because of that. But back to the issue of why you will not probably see them, if anything, in the United States, is there are very strong IP protection laws. We hope that, Herman Miller has already come in contact with the neocon organizers and also identified that individual booth presenter so that they can investigate further. But at the same time, once they do that, they're able to block through IP measures their imports and whatnot. So these individuals won't be able to bring them en masse. And even if they do attempt to bring them, once they're identified, they will be easily blocked. U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, they will probably be checking their imports regularly, and therefore they're going to probably lose a significant amount of that load. I highly doubt that we will see them in the U.S. anytime soon, and I hope that we don't see them anytime soon, as the Herman Miller Aeron chair is an iconic chair and definitely deserves the IP protection that it has and it's attained over the time. Although many, if not all, of the patents that were on that chair have expired, the trade dress protecting a lot of the structural shape and design of that chair are still intact, and those don't expire. And those things prevent someone from essentially building a whole new chair from scratch and making a knockoff like this particular individual did. Thank you very much. We appreciate you guys letting us know about the presence of this chair. And then also, yes, there is a possibility of this Bigfoot creature is actually in existence somewhere, although it is going to be extremely rare and probably not something neither you nor us will ever experience ever again.